Okay. Kind of a stark transition from table flipping to presents, perhaps. All right. We're going to be talking about presence and transformation this evening. But before we begin, I'd like to ask you to do something with me. I'd like for us to start off tonight with a minute of silence, not as a formality, but as an opportunity just to see what happens when we just try to be silent just for 60 seconds, just for a minute. And what I'd ask you to do is just watch what happens and what is going on in your mind over the course of 60 seconds. Fair enough? All right, let's take 60 seconds and let's just be silent for a minute. Okay. For some of us, 60 seconds of silence is like doing planks for 60 seconds. It's like, oh, come on, it's got to be 60 seconds by now. I'm dying. So what happened during that silence? What happened as you just took a moment to be silent? Where did your mind go? Bill? Okay, so you went both directions, past and future. What else? Terry? Oh, you did some of the Taizé songs. Very nice, very nice. What else? Oh, okay. Very good. So you took that opportunity to have some gratitude. Very good. What else? Sorry? Worried. Worried. Yep. Yes.
I went through a kind of a checklist of if I had checked in with my kids enough after school, and did I get to hear about their day? Who do I still need to maybe talk to more?
Wow. You were busy. You were busy in there. Yeah. Rachel? Nothing. Okay. So you're able to just took a break. All right. Very good. Very good.
I'm thinking of people that need prayers that
Okay.
kind of on my prayer list.
Okay. Cares and concerns for others. Yeah.
Just focused on my breathing and slowing down.
Okay. Breathing and slowing down.
I thought about the 3 things I've done during the day that I really enjoy.
Oh, very well, nice. Nice little gratitude list. Very good.
I try to keep my mind blank and be paying attention to trying to keep it blank.
Ah,
It's still impossible to not.
right. Because trying to keep it blank is not blank, right? That's how that works. That's how that stuff works. It can be kind of wild with all the weird stuff that just pops in your brain when you're just sitting there in silence. So what we just did, that noticing and returning, is really the whole of what we're going to explore and spend some time with tonight. Presence sounds simple, and it sort of is. Maybe it's simple, but it's hard. It's simple, but it's hard. And as we just experienced, it can take almost everything we have to sustain being present, even for 60 seconds, let alone any time beyond that throughout the day. Which raises a question worth sitting with for the next hour. What would it mean to live more in a state of presence? What would it mean for us individually? What might it mean for others and people that we come in contact with? So let's start with some definitions. So presence is the quality of being fully here, not split between where you are and where your mind has wandered. It's the difference between looking at someone versus actually seeing them, or between going through motions versus genuinely inhabiting the moment. We spend most of our time with our bodies one place and our minds somewhere else, don't we? Next slide. Presence is the capacity to meet reality directly, including our own experience, our own inner experience, without the mediation of excessive thought, judgment, or distraction. So often we have this continuous dialogue going on about our experiences and who we should be and who other people should be and how life should be, and it's just relentless. It goes on and on and on. Next slide, please. The Buddhists use an interesting term that translates to bear attention. Bear attention, which means knowing what is present without a commentary or a reaction to it. Just knowing that it's present. Not indifference, it's not indifference, but it's a kind of warm, steady, non-clinging attentiveness, just seeing what's there. So in the context of our conversation here is being present, and maybe we are aware that we're feeling anxious. Now we can start a whole story and dialogue about feeling anxious, as opposed to there's anxiousness. It just is. So most of us are not actually living in our lives. We're living slightly above them or around them. We're running a continuous commentary on what's happening rather than inhabiting what's happening. The mind is almost always somewhere else other than the body. Rehearsing a future conversation, rehearsing a past conversation, evaluating present moment against some standard of how things should be. This is the ordinary human condition. It's not pathological, but it is our default mode. It is how we are wired. Many spiritual traditions call this being asleep. Not sleep like laziness sleep, but a kind of structural absence from one's own life. And what Lent invites, and what the word metanoia, repentance, might actually help us understand is it's a waking up. Repentance is a waking up. Not a moral upgrade, but a reorientation of attention. A turning toward what is actually true right now. Now, what makes this hard is that we have become extraordinarily skilled at managing our inner lives, rather than meeting them, managing them rather than meeting them. Managing means keeping uncomfortable feelings at a tolerable distance, staying busy, staying helpful. We do that sometimes to actually avoid not being present. Staying in our heads, reaching for our phones. You ever do that? You ever count how many times you reach for your phone for no good reason whatsoever? other than for the past 7 seconds you haven't looked at your phone? Now, we're not bad people for doing this. Managing is how we survive things that were once too painful or too big for us to handle. But what was once protective becomes, over time, a kind of prison for us. We manage so well that we lose contact with ourselves. We lose access to our own depths and our own truths. Presence with ourselves means closing this gap. It means allowing what's actually arising, the anxiety, the grief, the guilt, the tenderness, the longing, to be real and to be felt, to be met, not managed. This is what the desert does for Jesus. It strips away every mechanism of management and leaves him with just what's true. If we think about the temptations for a minute, the temptations that Jesus faced in the desert, at their core, they offer to manage. You don't have to be hungry. You don't have to be uncertain. You don't have to be powerless. And the refusal of each temptation is a choice to stay present in the reality of what is. I am hungry. I am uncertain. I am powerless. There's something here that connects to the classic Lenten practice of fasting as well. Fasting is often understood as penance or discipline, giving something up. But when you fast, you feel the reaching. You notice that the almost involuntary movement toward food, toward comfort, toward relief, instead of allowing to automatically to stay with the discomfort. That pause, that gap between the discomfort and the willingness to stay with it is where self-knowledge and spiritual discipline lives. It's where you begin to discover what you're really hungry for. As I mentioned, the Buddhist tradition calls this quality of attention sati, bare attention, attending to an experience without adding commentary, preference, or judgment, just the raw fact of what's arising held in awareness. What's revolutionary about this is that it reveals how much of what we call experience is actually our reaction to an experience. The sensation itself isn't unbearable. Our resistance to the sensation is what's unbearable. The present moment met directly is almost always more workable than the story we tell about it. Once we name it, we can tame it. The first movement of transformation is not changing ourselves, but actually meeting ourselves, perhaps for the first time. So the first invitation of Lent is simply this: stop managing long enough to notice what's actually there. Not to fix it, just to meet it. So I'd like to give you some time at the tables to play with this one. If we go to the next slide. So here's our table talk. Where in your life right now are you managing your experiences rather than meeting it? What is actually there underneath the story you tell about it? And you're going to have plenty of time, so you may need to sit with this for a minute before you start sharing. But I'd like for you to share at your table the response to these questions. Where in your life right now are you managing your experience rather than meeting it? Let's go about 10 minutes. Go. So I'm going to confess something really stupid to you. I was finishing up this presentation today, and I was working from home, and I was doing laundry while I was doing this, and I had, yes, I do laundry. I heard that. I heard that. Okay, thank you, thank you. Doing laundry, and I have this shirt and these two pairs of pants that I hate. I hate them. Started off with mild indifference. It has grown to hate. And yet, I had a story around it like, oh, come on, they're perfectly fine. There's no sense spending the money. And I was listening to myself with this presentation. So I got present with the fact that I hate this shirt and these two pairs of pants. So the shirt got thrown away. Trading Post is going to get the two pairs of pants. Thank you. Thank you.
Buy the Trading Post pants you like.
What's that?
Then you can buy from the Trading Post pants you like at a reasonable price.
I have two pairs of pants from the Trading Post that I absolutely love. And so here's the weird thing. So I ordered two more because I like those so much, and they weren't anything like the ones from the Trading Post. These are the two that I hate. Okay, so what was this experience like for you? What did you come up with this first question? Yes.
Managing for me was like, it was a medical thing. So I'm managing it was like I was just kind of going around about deciding shouldn't I call, blah, on. And then when I finally thought, no, I just need to call the doctor. And once I called the doctor, all of a sudden I felt better.
Okay.
I wasn't like doing all that anymore.
And did you sort of have a story in your head about what was driving you going round and around?
Worst case scenarios.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yes.
Similarly, the idea of asking for help instead of managing it yourself, I think there is something freeing with asking for help.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're, as a society, conditioned to just figure it out, tough it out, do it yourself, rather than trusting or being vulnerable for what might happen if you don't have control.
Yeah. 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 But the truth of it for you is, I need help. But then the stories start, and that keeps you from asking for help.
Or then once you do, like, was that right?
Oh, right, that. Yes. What else? Yes.
Similarities. I think once you open up that box, that Pandora's box, all of a sudden others can talk about similar situations.
Oh.
It allowed to open that conversation a great deal more.
So by becoming a little more present, you feel like you might be more present with somebody else? Okay. What else? What else did you experience with this question? Yes.
I'll give the example, having a preteen, feeling like you're constantly trying to direct them on the right path. So you're managing the path for them, don't fall and get hurt versus, wise choices. And sometimes forgetting to just be in that moment.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we probably do that a lot in relationships where we get focused on an agenda or a point of view of how things should be, and all the interactions come from that place as opposed to just being present with them. Yes.
I thought about the change in our lifestyle and Nancy and I in the last year and a half since she's had two major surgeries, how that's changed and how that's sometimes I try to be helpful to her. I try, but I feel like I fail sometimes. I fail
Yeah. But if I heard you right, you also struggle with I'm doing the right things, but my attitude while I'm doing them maybe isn't what I would like. Resentful. Yeah. 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 Anything else? Yes. So struggling with kind of values and prioritization. Is that close? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, what you just did, your tables, turning toward your own experience with honesty and staying with it rather than solving it. That's the work of being present with yourself. It's just acknowledging it, just seeing what's there, not trying to fix it, just understanding that it's there. I'm sorry? Stay with me on that one. Okay? Stay with me on that one. So then that raises the question, what happens when we bring the same quality of presence not inward but outward to other people? Next slide. So if presence with ourselves is about closing the gap between attention and experience, presence with another person is about something even more demanding, allowing another person's reality to be as real as your own. This is really rare. This is hard. Most of what passes for attentiveness in relationship is actually a sophisticated form of self-involvement. We listen, but we're curating a response. We ask questions, but we're steering toward what's comfortable for us. We offer comfort, but we're managing our own discomfort with the pain that someone may be experiencing. None of this is malicious. We're not being malicious. It's simply what the unexamined self does. It makes everything, including other people, about itself. We struggle being around people who are in a bad place, don't we? We struggle with what am I supposed to say? Even behind that question is, my job is to somehow take that pain away. I'm supposed to make it better. How do I do that? So, if presence about ourselves is closing this gap again of attention and experience, now the genuine presence of another has a very different quality. When someone is really, really present with us, that has a very different quality. It's been described as letting someone land. And maybe you've had these conversations. Allowing someone's words and their feelings and their reality to actually sort of get worked out and worked through simply by us being present with them. Not because of anything we're saying, mostly because of what we're not saying. Now, people can feel this difference, even when they can't name it. There's something in us that recognizes when we are truly being seen versus when we are being managed, evaluated, or helped at. The psychological research on this is really interesting. What heals people in therapy is not primarily the therapist's technique or theoretical orientation, it's the quality of the relationship. Specifically, it's the quality of the therapist's presence. Being genuinely witnessed by another person does something that no amount of good advice can do. I've heard it said that if we all became better listeners, most psychotherapists would be out of work. This points to something that Christian tradition has always intuited. We are constituted in relationship. We come more fully into being through being held in another's genuine attention. Think about Gethsemane for a moment. Jesus doesn't ask the disciples to pray for him, fix anything, or to have answers. He asks them to stay awake with him, to be present. And they fail. Not out of cruelty, but out of the most ordinary of human weaknesses. Presence is hard. Presence with suffering is hardest of all. When someone we love is in pain, when the situation is heavy and unresolved, the pull towards sleep, towards something, some form of numbing or escape or problem solving is enormous. I remember with my mother's dementia, I would get over to her apartment, and again, I was convincing myself that I was being present, but I was busy cleaning her up, cleaning the place up. I was doing all this stuff, busy, and I wasn't just present. I wasn't there. It was much easier for me to be doing all of that stuff. And it looked good. I could convince myself this was the right stuff to be doing. But I wasn't present. Staying awake with someone in Gethsemane, in their own Gethsemane, is one of the most demanding and holy things that we can do. What makes it possible is precisely the inner work that we do with being present with ourselves. You can't stay present with someone with another person's grief if you're running from your own. You cannot hold someone else's complexity if you cannot tolerate ambiguity in yourself. This is why the inner and outer movements of Lent are not separate. They are the same path walked from different directions. The person who has learned to meet themselves with honesty and compassion is the person who can meet others that way as well. Simone Weil wrote this, that attention is I love this, the rarest and purest form of generosity. She meant something very specific by attention, not concentration or effort, but a quality of receptive openness. Making ourselves available to what is actually there rather than what we expect or wish to find. She believed this quality of attention, whether toward God, truth, toward a suffering person, was all essentially the same act. To truly attend to another human being is, in some sense, a very sacred act. It's treating them as an end rather than a means. In Martin Buber's language, treating them as a thou versus an it. This is what presence in community looks like in practice. Not agreement, not comfort, not even kindness exactly, but a quality of genuine meeting, of being willing to let the other person be real to you, to let what matters to them actually matter to you. So we've been talking about what it means to be truly with another person, but I suspect most of us know this not as a concept, but as an experience. A moment when someone was genuinely present with us. And something in us opened up because of it. Let's go to the next slide, please. So our next conversation. Think of a time when someone was present with you. What did it feel like? What did it make possible for you? Let's take 10 minutes on that one. Okay, let's reconvene. So, what did you hear about? What does it feel like to be with someone who is fully present with us? Can we advance one more slide? What does it feel like to be with someone who is present with us? Good. Okay. Accepting. Thank you. Whoa, same time. Safe. Safe. Valued. Okay. Affirmed. And most of this not through words, right? It's really not, they're not necessarily saying the right things. They're there. Anything else? Thank you. Connected. Very good. Yeah, you don't feel isolated. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move to the third element tonight. Now, this is where the Lenten frame takes us somewhere deeper than ordinary wisdom about relationship, because Christian transformation, we'll go ahead and move one more. Christian transformation isn't ultimately about getting better at things. It's not about self-improvement. It follows a different pattern entirely. It follows the pattern of death and resurrection. And that changes everything about what we mean when we say presence is a path to transformation. We come now to the deepest level, which is also the most distinctive Christian. Something unexpected often happens. It begins to move, not because we fixed it, but because we finally met it. This is the desert experience. These 40 days in the wilderness, structured, designed to produce not achievement, but resolution. But the falling away of what is false and deepened contact with what is real. This is the Paschal pattern at its most intimate. Presence in our practice of that surrender moment by moment. Not a dramatic once and for all dying, but the daily ordinary willingness to meet reality as it is. To stay awake in the garden. To let what is true be true. Lent ends at Easter not because we achieved something, but because we allowed something. Presence is how we allow it. Lent is not an abstract season. It's 40 days, real days in your real life. Tonight so far, we've explored presence with ourselves, presence with others. There's a natural human wisdom to it that many traditions share, but Lent frames presence within a specific and radical story. The Paschal mystery, death and resurrection. And that changes what we mean by transformation. So what we're saying here is, again, a difference between self-improvement and transformation. It's when we acknowledge and we admit, we allow and get real with what we are experiencing, and then we can surrender that. It's very, very different from self-improvement. So we won't do table talk on this one, but here's what I want to ask you. What might it look like for you to practice one small act of presence between now and Easter? With yourself or with someone else? What might it look like to be very intentional about being present with yourself or with someone else? I'm going to let you sit with that question. And as you leave here tonight, leave with that question. Between now and Easter, one thing, not a big program, not a big list, one thing that you can experience a deeper level of presence with yourself or with someone else. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. We're going to skip a couple here. One more. So one thing I want to mention about presence. So if we're kind of struggling with this and maybe we need some concrete terms, I would encourage you at any time, maybe a couple times, 3 times a day, just to stop whatever you're doing and ask yourself, what am I feeling in my body? What's going on in my body? What am I feeling emotionally? What's happening with me right now? What kind of feelings am I having? What's my state of mind? Am I in a good mood? Am I in a bad mood? Am I agitated? And then what's my thinking? These are the things we can focus on to give us a sense of presence. I was listening to a writer who talked about in the health field, and they were trying to train health professionals to be more present, and they were encouraging to take micro breaks. Micro breaks. So if you're in with a patient and you realize you're not being present, step out of the room for a minute, 2 or 3 minutes, and ask yourself these questions and engage in presence. Next slide, please. I want to repeat this quote by Simone Weil. Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity for ourselves and for others. For ourselves and for others. And lastly, I want to close with a poem that Barb Davis shared with me. You are somebody's front porch to God. You are someone's doorway to mercy. You are the world's threshold to kindness. You are my entrance to letting go of regret. No pressure, but your life is a gateway to peace for both strangers and friends alike. Whether you realize it or not, empathy has chosen you to turn your heart into a welcome mat for others. This is the purpose of your life, to let your existence become a candlelit veranda of hope for the rest of us to gather on during the long night. So presence, this is the wager, the promise of presence with ourselves and with one another. Amen.